What is happening today, traders? We are going to be going over ticker symbol BTC today and the possible short-term and long-term outlook on this chart, right? Looking at the micro patterns that you form here, I am still in agreement. You are still in a macro rising wedge, which I have charted in another chart, and I can pull it up towards the end. But looking at the micro here, you are within a micro rising wedge, right? It's a rising wedge within a rising wedge within a rising wedge. Right, you get the gist. You are still forming higher highs and higher lows, and you got a nice bounce off of this trend line like we were expecting that you formed back in April. Monster move in April, smaller move in July, and then you'd expect a smaller move, but still another all-time high, right? With top side resistance somewhere between like 128 to 130, depending on when you top out here. And Bitcoin, truthfully, could go all the way into this coil, and it could also break up. You are in a bull market, and that is not out of the picture, but I think it would be negligence to not cover a rising wedge when it's there, right? Also, a touch of bearish divergence, making a higher high on the daily, but then making a lower high on the RSI here. That you guys can see. You topped out on the RSI, I believe that's 75, and then here it is 74. Hold on a second. 78 and 75 or 74 or something like that. Regardless, still minor bearish divergence there, so something to look at and to monitor. Typically, when you do break down from these rising wedges, you see multiple touches of bearish divergence. So I know this isn't a rising wedge, it is a double top. So I'll kind of just give you guys the same picture that we're kind of painting up here, right? We're making higher highs. We're slowly grinding forward, as Bitcoin always does, up and to the right. But it's good to see these warning signs and to be cautious, right? Because you can see you topped out on the RSI on the daily back in November. You made a higher high here in November, late November. You made a higher high here in December, but a lower high on the RSI. Higher high here in December, a lower high on the RSI. And then the previous all-time high on January 20th, but still a lower high on the RSI. So that's almost 4 or 5 touches of bearish divergence. So that's why I predicate here the one touch of bearish divergence doesn't mean we're just going to do this move. If I can find my good old trend line, just give me a brush. It doesn't mean that we're going to just do this move. That's not the case at all. X. In fact, I actually think I'm still bullish on Bitcoin, at least on the short term. Get me off this brush. There we go. That's better. Now delete that. And delete that. Okay. I'm still very, very bullish on Bitcoin in the short to long term because Bitcoin is known for invalidating these. It's just not as bullish as a setup as you had back in previous June to August, where you had this falling broadening wedge, a typical bullish pattern that you bottomed out in August, rode the wave, broke out, retested, and sent a total of 63% on just an astronomical run to the upside, right? So for Bitcoin here, you're expecting a top out 130 most likely to 133. I know that was our previous price target before you could see a potential retest of this previous trend line that you formed back from this double top, right? And you did bounce off of it beautifully during this retest in June to July that led to an all-time high. So once you do break the rising wedge, because this is a pretty short-term rising wedge, the fall pretty much takes you exactly to the trend line, guys. So that kind of significant correlation, I think there's a high possibility that once you make an all-time high here, and maybe I have to redraw that. There we go. Maybe you top out at 130 in August, and then you come back down and you test this trend that's held strong, resistance, support, possible support, resistance, support, 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 and acted as the key resistance for this double top. You might want to test this before possibly creating a larger scale macro pattern, because this is a micro rising wedge. That means most likely another all-time high and then a pretty sizable dump. If I was to take that target to there, you could possibly see a 22% dump on Bitcoin, which would lead you to believe that altcoins would get smoked. So whatever kind of run that these altcoins make in the next 3 to 4 weeks, not financial advice, I would probably be taking profits, or at least your initial investment, right? Because when Bitcoin goes down 20%, 30%, you could very quickly see your altcoins go down 70%. So never a good thing when Bitcoin goes down. As for the overall larger scale picture on BTC, let me go into Webull. Webull is my stuff. BTC. Bitcoin. Here we have a potential falling wedge on Bitcoin. On like the even shorter term, I'm on the 1 hour. But let's go to the weekly. And this is a logarithmic chart. So from the logarithmic chart, very, very good for identifying macro patterns and very long scale price action. You can see that you formed a very, very macro rising wedge that you're coiling into here. So even if you do on the micro, let's say you break up, you make another all-time high, 133, retest this at 112, whatever that's going to be, and then you form a greater move to 243. I think that would be the euphoric top, that 200 to 250 range on Bitcoin before you were to break down from this macro rising wedge, which has been playing out since 2015 and has helped identify the top for every single bull run here. So you got 2017, 2021, and then potentially at 250K, 2025. And then a pullback I would anticipate could take you back to the 200-day EMA, which only time will tell, right? Only time will tell where that 200-day EMA will be once you're up at $200,000 on Bitcoin. That's just absurd and sounds crazy, right? When you look at the overall price and how it's grown so significantly. But a move to $200,000, let's say, I mean, even a retest of a $50,000 Bitcoin, very, very possible from the breakdown of this rising wedge. And shout out to Jordan Cameron for that thesis. I mean, 75% drop. I think we should look at from top to bottom where the last couple bear cycles took you to. Bam. 76%, pretty much exactly. So that's interesting. %. This one was 83. I'd probably go closer with 79%. And then this one, let's say you take it from 200,000 to 250. Let's take from the top of there. Down 70%. Would most likely take you to, could take you to the 50-day or the 200. Let's go deeper retracement. $50,000 would take you to that 79% from the top. So very, very possible that you hit $250,000 or $200,000, guys, and everyone is ranting about crypto. Crypto's going to change the world. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And then this thing quickly turns around and goes the other direction. What that news or fundamental reason would be, who knows? No one really knows, right? But what I do know is chart patterns don't lie. People lie, but charts do not. So it is only a matter of time, guys. Please, please, please be careful. This is not financial advice. This is just a theory from a stupid retail trader. So do not do or say what I do or say. So thank you guys for tuning into the video. It's been Trap Trades. And until the next one, much love, God bless, and peace.